The Feynman technique is a powerful, straightforward method designed to help you learn faster and more deeply by simplifying complex concepts. Named after the brilliant physicist Richard Feynman, this technique revolves around the idea that if you can explain a topic clearly and simply, you truly understand it. Have you ever tried teaching a friend what you just learned and realized you couldn't explain it in simple terms? The process starts by selecting a topic you want to master and writing down everything you know about it in plain language as if you were teaching it to someone with no background in the subject. This forces you to break down the concept into its most basic components and helps identify any gaps in your understanding. For instance, if you're studying photosynthesis, try explaining it step by step, what plants need, how they use sunlight, and the chemical reactions involved. What parts of the process do you think could be simplified even further? Once you've written your explanation, review it critically. Look for any areas where your explanation is vague or overly complicated. This is your opportunity to go back to the source material, fill in the missing details, and refine your understanding. As you clarify these gaps, you build a more solid foundation of knowledge. Can you think of a subject where rephrasing the content in your own words made the information stick? Finally, share your explanation with someone else or even speak it out loud to yourself. Teaching is one of the most effective ways to learn because it forces you to articulate your thoughts clearly and confirm your own understanding. Over time, by repeatedly using the Feynman technique, you'll find that complex ideas become much more accessible and you're able to recall and apply them with greater ease. In summary, the Feynman technique empowers you to simplify and accelerate your learning by encouraging you to distill complicated subjects into clear, understandable explanations. It not only strengthens your grasp of the material, but also enhances your communication skills, critical for both academic and professional success. What's one topic you're eager to master using this method? The Feynman technique is a learning method developed by Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman that emphasizes deep understanding by teaching concepts in simple terms. It involves explaining a topic as if you were teaching it to someone with no prior knowledge, which forces you to identify and fill gaps in your understanding. By breaking down complex ideas into simple language, the technique helps solidify your grasp of the subject matter. This method is grounded in the principle that if you cannot explain something simply, you do not understand it well enough. A high school student studying electromagnetism might try to explain how electric currents work to a friend using only everyday language and analogies. It's like trying to describe your favorite movie to someone who's never seen it. You have to break it down into its most basic, relatable elements. The Feynman technique involves writing down everything you know about a topic and then simplifying the explanation until it's easily understood. This process requires you to strip away jargon and complex terminology, revealing the underlying core concepts. Simplification forces you to re-examine your knowledge and clarify any vague or incomplete ideas. As you simplify, you identify areas where your understanding is lacking and focus on learning those aspects in more depth. After reading a chapter on cellular respiration, a student writes, "A simple explanation of how cells convert food into energy without using scientific terms like mitochondria or ATP until they can explain those terms clearly." It's like reducing a complicated recipe to its basic ingredients and simple steps so that anyone, even a beginner cook, can follow along. When you try to teach a concept using the Feynman technique, any parts you struggle to explain clearly indicate gaps in your knowledge. These gaps are valuable because they show you exactly what you need to review or research further. This self-assessment promotes targeted learning, ensuring you spend time improving weaker areas. The iterative nature of this method leads to progressively deeper understanding as you fill in these gaps. If a student can't clearly explain why gravity causes an object to fall, they know to revisit that topic and seek additional resources or ask for help. It's like assembling a puzzle and finding missing pieces. Once you identify what's absent, you can look for the missing parts to complete the picture. Active recall, a key component of the Feynman technique, involves retrieving information from memory without referring to notes, which strengthens retention. Teaching someone else forces you to use active recall and articulate your understanding in your own words. This process has been shown to enhance long-term memory and improve problem-solving skills. Engaging in active teaching transforms passive study into an interactive and effective learning experience. A student might explain a math concept to a classmate without looking at their textbook, which helps reinforce the steps and principles in their mind. It's like exercising your muscles. The more you use them, the stronger and more efficient they become. The Feynman technique is iterative, meaning you repeat the process of explaining, identifying gaps, and refining your explanation until it's clear and complete. With each iteration, your explanation becomes simpler and more comprehensive. This cyclical process encourages continuous improvement and deeper learning. Over time, the repeated practice transforms complex ideas into clear, digestible knowledge. A student might initially write a lengthy explanation of photosynthesis, then refine it through several drafts until it becomes a concise, easy-to-understand summary. It's like polishing a rough piece of wood. Each pass with sandpaper makes it smoother and more refined until it's perfectly finished. Analogies in simple language are vital tools in the Feynman technique as they help bridge the gap between complex scientific concepts and everyday understanding. By relating unfamiliar ideas to common experiences, you create mental connections that make learning more intuitive. This approach not only simplifies the topic but also makes it more engaging and memorable. Effective analogies can demystify difficult concepts and facilitate better comprehension. To explain electrical circuits, a student might compare the flow of electrons to water flowing through pipes, highlighting similarities in resistance and flow. It's like comparing a busy highway to a water stream. Both systems involve movement, obstacles, and flow, making the abstract concept more relatable. One of the best ways to test your understanding is to teach the concept to someone else and observe their comprehension. This process, integral to the Feynman technique, provides immediate feedback on how well you have mastered the material. When your explanation is clear and your audience understands, it indicates a solid grasp of the subject. Conversely, confusion or questions from your listener highlight areas for further study. A student might host a study session where they explain a chapter on evolution to peers, then ask for questions to gauge their clarity. It's like being a tour guide. You know the route well only if your group can follow along and appreciate the details without getting lost. The Feynman technique encourages a curious mindset where you are always looking to understand more deeply and question your assumptions. This ongoing curiosity drives continuous improvement and lifelong learning. By regularly revisiting and refining your explanations, you keep your knowledge fresh and adaptable. The technique thus transforms learning into a dynamic process rather than a one-time effort. A student might review and update their explanation of a scientific theory each semester, integrating new insights from recent lessons or research findings. It's like maintaining a garden. Constant care and attention keep it flourishing and adapting to new seasons. As you master a topic using the Feynman technique, you build both knowledge and confidence, which are crucial for academic success. Regular practice and successful teaching moments serve as tangible proof of your progress. This method helps you overcome learning obstacles and fosters a positive feedback loop that motivates further improvement. Ultimately, mastering a subject through simplified explanations reinforces your ability to learn and apply complex concepts effectively. A student who can confidently explain the principles of thermodynamics to others without hesitation has clearly mastered the topic and gained self-assurance in their knowledge. It's like learning to ride a bike. Once you're able to navigate confidently without training wheels, you feel empowered to take on more challenging rides.